Hello and welcome to my channel Tall Talks from a Short Lady. In this video, I'll be talking about request letters. Now, when we come across the word request letters, many a times you will notice that the word request and permission are mentioned together as if they are one and the same thing and they are synonymous. However, there is a slight or subtle difference between request and permission letters. So I would start by first establishing this difference. Now, request is not the same as permission. When we're talking about the meaning of request, it is when we ask someone to do something for us. For example, a favor. Whereas when we're talking about permission, permission is when we check to see if we are allowed to do something by someone who is in a more powerful position than us. Moving along to further differences between request and permission letters. Now, request letters can be made from anyone to anyone, which means that the flow of request letters can be vertical in nature, where it can be downward, which means it can be written by someone at a higher level or at a more powerful position to someone who is not so powerful. To take an example, the CEO of a very big company might feel the need to write a request letter to an ordinary bank clerk regarding a transaction. Again, on the other hand, we can have people of a lower standing writing up to request something for people who are in a power of position. Moving to permission letters, you will note, are mostly written by subordinates to superiors or by people who are in a less powerful position than others. And hence, somebody has the power to grant them their request. So if we talk about the flow of permission letters, then it is easy enough for us to understand that permission letters, the flow is mostly upward in nature. Now, if I'm trying to establish the difference between request and permission letters, I can do it with the help of a Venn diagram to show the relationship or to show the difference. So, request letters, here it is represented as a set. And permission letters are a subset within the bigger set of request letters. So if I translate this Venn diagram into words, I can say that all permission letters are request letters. However, all request letters are not necessarily permission letters. So now that we have established the difference between a request and permission letters, I would like to take a look at the definition of a request letter. And the formal definition says that a request letter is written by anyone to request a concerned company or authority, first of all, for permission to do something. It can also be to ask for a favor, or it can be to ask for information, documents, certificates, samples, quotations, etc. Now let us take a look at some of the different types of request letters we might need to write. The first example is that of a request for leave. This is done within an organization mostly. Then we have a request for an interview. Now, a request for an interview is better known as a cover letter, where you are sending in your resume or your CV and you're requesting someone to give you time for an interview. The next kind of request can be a request for an appointment, maybe to a doctor or a lawyer, and we have a request for a loan to a bank. Maybe if you're interested in applying for an educational loan, you might have to write a request letter. Then we might have a prisoner requesting the prison officer to be sent on parole. And we have another example here, a request for transcripts, which you might have to make to the university when you're planning to apply abroad for further studies. So now that we have looked at some of the different examples of request letters, I want to talk about the 4 steps to writing a good request letter. Now, the first step says that you need to introduce yourself. Even though you might be writing to someone within your organization, it is still a good idea to use your employee ID. Step 2 is you need to explain very precisely why you are requesting. And then you need to back it up with a reason or reasons. If you're able to provide good, solid, plausible reasons, then the possibility of your request being granted increases. And the last thing that you do in your request letter mostly is to leave some contact details where you can be got in touch with. Now, this part is not mandatory, but I feel it is a good idea to be included in your request letter. So now I'm going to show you a sample of a request letter. Now, this sample is a request letter as well as a permission letter. The subject can be written as request for leave or permission for leave. Now, I'll be reading out the letter and I will map it to the 4 steps that I've spoken about in the previous slide. I, Miss Anita Baker, employee ID 98709. So here she is introducing herself and also giving some kind of official, ID. I'm writing to ask for permission to travel to Singapore over the weekend to visit my mother. And within the same sentence, she's able to cover step 2, where she is making her request that she needs permission to travel in the weekend to visit her mother. Then she goes ahead to give the reason for her request. She says that my mother has been ailing for a week now and she's currently undergoing treatment at the hospital. I want to be there for her before she's discharged so that I could help her move back to the house. She gives the reason in a very succinct manner, and then she asks for the exact number of days that she would need leave for. The trip will take a total of 8 days. Therefore, I humbly request the leave from 25th June 2021 onwards. I'll be back on July 2nd and report to work the next day. Now that she has spoken about, how long she needs the leave for, she's moving on to the last step where she's leaving some, details about where she can be, gotten in touch with. I have requested Miss Joan Atkins to stand in for me in case of an emergency. However, if the need arises, I can be reached at so and so number. The last line here is very important, where she says, I will eagerly wait for your sanction before I book my flight tickets, which will kind of spur the reader into a sense of urgency to reply back to this person. So this is all I have for you in terms of request letters. For other topics on communication, please refer to the description box below this video. And the name of my channel once again is Tall Talks from a Short Lady. And now I will say thank you and bye.